Boy, it's getting to be cold, starting to feel like winter is coming on. It's still the second week in October, but we are above 5,000 feet, I'd say. And in Lovell Canyon, it's a canyon between Las Vegas and Pahrump. We're going to take another shot at the Wilson Ridge. There are a lot of approaches to the Wilson Ridge. It's a much more difficult ridge than the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline. The approaches take something like a 3,000 foot elevation gain just to get up onto the ridge. For example, here we are on Lovell Canyon Road and Rocky Gap Road. And here you can see Rocky Gap Road. And the paved road here is Lovell Canyon Road. And one approach that we've taken before is go up a ridge line to the Wilson Ridge at Red Rock Summit. What we're going to do, we've been taking sections of the Wilson Ridge because it takes so long to get up there. We've been taking small sections at a time, just exploring the Wilson Ridge. And today we're going to take this approach ridge. We're going to take this approach ridge up to the Wilson Ridge, and then take a left or north when we hit the Wilson Ridge and traverse the Wilson Ridge over to somewhere above Switchback Spring in Red Rock Canyon. And if everything works out, we'll descend to Rocky Gap Road at Switchback Spring, and then we will return to this point right here on Rocky Gap Road. The big question is, can we descend those cliffs above Switchback Spring? If we can't, then we'll probably just turn around and come back down. We're going to make some discoveries here on the Wilson Ridge today. Now, what you see ahead is the Wilson Ridge Southern High Point. And there's a Las Vegas area trails adventure that goes up to that southern high point and then heads toward Harris Mountain, which is the northern high point or upper end of the Wilson Ridge. So the Wilson Ridge actually goes all the way from Harris Mountain all the way down to Highway 160 and Lovell Canyon Road. So it spans the entire length of Lovell Canyon. So here we go. Let's go ahead and find this approach ridge and head up to the Wilson Ridge. Okay, we begin by hiking about a mile up Lovell Canyon Road. We came from this direction to the south, and we're heading up north. Soon we're going to find a little Forrest Road. I'll give you the number when we get there and we see the sign, but that's going to lead us up this ridge line, and I believe that's a point on the ridge line. That's going to lead us up to the Wilson Ridge, about a 3,000 foot ascent on the approach ridge. We came down this ridge earlier on the adventure that I call the Red Rock Summit Loop. Now we're ascending this ridge and then taking a left along the Wilson Ridge to get the next section of the Wilson Ridge. So the next thing I show you is going to be the sign for the turnoff toward the ridge. And here we are approaching the turnoff. You're not going to see any markings whatsoever from Lovell Canyon Road because the little sign is pretty much buried in brush at this point. It may be cleared on the day you come here, but don't count on it. And here is that sign right in front of us. Let's take a closer look. And the sign says Road 25930. That's the road we're taking now. So I'll show you where we turn off this road and head up the ridge above. Okay, so I believe this is the spot. I'm not absolutely sure, but I seem to remember it being this spot right here where you turn off. It's not too far from where we connected with this little Forrest Road. So into this camping area. And a lot of times in these camping areas, they're really beautiful areas, but there will often be an RV and a very mean dog. So just be aware. I've never been bitten by a dog, but boy, they love to bark at you. Okay, so now you can see we are heading up what looks like a little trail. And this is the trail that's going to get you on to that ridge. Once you get on the ridge, there will still be kind of a faint trail along the ridge, but don't count on it. You're going to just want to stay on the ridge, but the ridge is up ahead. So let's go ahead and continue on up. This little trail / ATV road continues on up, so just stay on the road as you ascend, and eventually you're going to look to where you're going to want to leave this road to ascend the approach ridge. Okay, so yeah, here we are, and now we need to find where this road continues, and I'm going to guess it's here. That's pretty much what it's like up in this area. You just have to take your best guess and look very carefully at the wilderness around you for where you'll see a faint sign of a road. Then if you made the right choice, it will actually continue. Same with trails. Okay, this is about the place where that little trail road ends. And now you are left to your own devices to find a way up, and now it's just a matter of sticking to the center of the ridge ahead all the way up. And one thing about this approach ridge for the Wilson Ridge is it's probably, at least in my experience so far, the easiest approach to the Wilson Ridge of all the approaches I've made, because there is the ridge, first of all, is more gradual than the other approaches, and there is a kind of faint trail, and you can even see camping areas along this approach ridge. So yeah, the faint trail appears and disappears, so don't count on it. Just stick to the center of the ridge and the high points along the way. And this next high points up ahead, we'll be able to see what's beyond when we get there. And that's how these approach ridges are. You can see the next high point, but you don't know what's beyond till you get to that high point. Then you see your next high point. So here we go. Okay, now I'm using this band of rocks to guide the way, continuing up toward that high point. And it's just going to be a matter of which side of the band of rocks I want to be on. I'm starting on the left side, and I have a feeling that before I reach the first high point, I'll be migrating across to the right side. By the way, at this point, we want to also look around and see our surroundings, because this is what we'll be looking at on the return trip. So we're looking across Lovell Canyon, and over in this direction is Harris Mountain. That's at the summit of the Wilson Ridge, northern summit. And then you can see the ridge across Lovell Canyon. This is on the west ridge of Lovell Canyon, across Lovell Canyon Road. And then you can look down and see where we connected with Lovell Canyon Road. There's where we took that little Forrest Road that began guiding us up this ridge. And one more quick note is this is where I put on the sage guards. Because as we begin ascending, we're going to find the trail appears and disappears, and when it disappears, we are likely to be going through sharp, jagged underbrush. Onward. This is what I mean about the trail appearing and disappearing. My top priority is stay in the center of the ridge and always aim for the higher point. Secondly, if I happen to find a trail, then wonderful. So I'm on a little pathway that helps me weave through the brush here, but that will end, and then I need to find another pathway, and every now and then it turns into a little faint trail. But this is still the easiest, most gradual, least brush to work around ridge for an approach ridge to the Wilson Ridge top. Okay, it's time to check in here. You're looking up at the Wilson Ridge up ahead. We're about at 7,300 feet, and things are starting to appear. What we see here is some of the high points along the Wilson Ridge. Let's start over at this end. There you can see that first high point that we reach on the Red Rock Summit Loop, and then over to what I believe is Red Rock Summit itself. There's Red Rock Summit. There are a few other high points along the way, and I'm thinking either I'm on track to reach the high point that we were at during the Red Rock Summit Loop, or I may be one high point north of that. So we'll have to take a look and see exactly where we are when we get up there. We won't know till we get up there. But this little approach ridge has been very nice. I think the approach ridge next door here might be the one that I actually descended during the Red Rock Summit Loop. Not sure. It could be this approach ridge. I haven't recognized anything distinctive yet, although there is a faint trail on this approach ridge. So now you're looking down into Lovell Canyon, down to Lovell Canyon Road. There we go. And then over to the landmark bluff. One of these days we'll climb that bluff. It's been my landmark wherever I am in Lovell Canyon, all the way from Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain, all the way to southern Lovell Canyon. Nopa Range. There's the west ridge of Lovell Canyon. I think on the other side of that ridge is Trout Canyon. Give you an idea where we are. This is the terrain. And there are some pathways, but they appear and disappear. I haven't missed a pathway enough to actually have to work my way through brush so far. So yeah, we'll see. Looks like it's pretty brushy up ahead, but we'll see if there's a way to work around it. All I know is that I need to keep to the center of this ridge. So let's continue on up. By the way, one more quick note. I think I've nailed Rocky Gap Road where it meets Lovell Canyon Road. Right down here. So the beast should be parked somewhere right in that area. I can't see it because of the glare on the screen. But there's where Rocky Gap Road meets Lovell Canyon Road. Okay, this is the definitive proof I was looking for to let me know that I am on the same ridge I descended last time. And you see the rocks lining this little trail to a camping area above, and continuing on down, those rocks continue to line this little trail, this area. And somebody definitely spent a lot of time up here arranging these rocks, so they probably camped up here for quite a while and worked on this section of trail as they were camping. So let's continue to look. Maybe we can find their camping spot ahead. We don't know. A few more signs. This looks like a little area where maybe somebody stored food or equipment, and then they actually created a little stairway going up in this direction. So yeah, we're going to continue on up, and I can start seeing high points up ahead. Okay, a bit of a dramatic descent and reascent ahead, and I do believe I remember this area, this ridge from last time, and rough guess would be that those two high points are the high points above Switchback Canyon and Ridge. And either in the center or to the left of those high points is where we're going to be looking for a descent to Rocky Gap Road down Switchback Ridge, if we can do it. Okay, onward. Time to check in again. I'm about 7,900 feet on this ridge, and I believe I need to get up to 82 to hit the top of this approach ridge where it meets the Wilson Ridge. Lot to see here. You're looking across to the west side of Lovell Canyon, lower west, and then you can see we'll trace the Sexton Ridge up here. You can see where Sexton Ridge begins to lead to Griffith Peak. There's Griffith Peak at the summit of Sexton Ridge. And then here's the saddle between Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain. Get a larger look at those. And then Harris Mountain we can trace down to the Wilson Ridge southern high point. There's Harris Mountain down the Wilson Ridge to the southern high point. Larger view of everything. There's the Nopa Range. And there's our landmark bluff. And there's the Wilson Ridge heading south. Right now at this point, we're not in a place where we can see much in the northerly direction or even up above us. So a little weaving amongst the limestone rocks and boulders here. If you look at the surface that we're on, rocky section, you can see the high point that we were on just in the last video, not too long ago actually. So yeah, let's continue up the ridge. Well, I was wondering why I didn't go all the way up to the summit of this ridge last week or last time when I was doing the Red Rock Summit Loop. And the reason is this is quite the razor's edge. Yeah, we'll get to the summit this time and then move along a little bit north. But wow, what a terrain up here. Here you can see, I think that's the area above Switchback Spring, but not entirely sure. I got to get up further to see where I am. Yeah, and the Red Rock Summit, I mean not Red Rock Summit, the Wilson Ridge. You can see the Wilson Ridge heading north from that point. I think this is the point also where you break off onto the La Madre Mountains Ridge. Not sure. Then there's Wilson Ridge. Heading to the Wilson Ridge Southern High Point. Then continuing on, it dips down. And then you can see where it heads up to the summit of Harris Mountain. And that's on the east side of Lovell Canyon. Then over to Griffith Peak. Down Sexton Ridge. And then you're looking at the west side of Lovell Canyon. Back to Griffith Peak. And there is the Torino Ranch Children's Camp. So, what are we going to do? Let's get up to the summit of this approach ridge, the very rocky, sharp summit, and then we'll see where we can descend. Maybe today, what we'll do is descend this neighboring ridge. The thing about the Wilson Ridge, what makes it so difficult to traverse, is that by the time you get to the summit of the approach ridge and you're actually on the Wilson Ridge, at least for me, I'm ready to turn around. This will be 4 hours getting up to the summit of this approach ridge, and not a whole lot of time to spend on the Wilson Ridge, taking another stretch north on that ridge, and then descending a ridge not too far north of this ridge. The very next ridge is likely what I'm going to be doing. I don't think I have the time to head over to Switchback Spring. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, we'll continue on up, get to the top of this approach ridge. Now on the other side, what are we looking at? We're looking at Red Rock Summit. And then you can see going down from a little beyond Red Rock Summit is that ridge, not the ridge in the foreground, but the very next ridge is the approach ridge that we used for the Red Rock Summit loop, getting up to the Red Rock Summit area. And then let's take a look over this way. Of course, I'm on that little razor's edge with not a lot of room to get a secure footing on all this loose rock. But anyway, yeah, what you're looking at here now, to the left of Red Rock Summit, you see a valley. That's the area at the base of Red Rock Summit is the area through which Rocky Gap Road passes. Love to get down there. I don't see how I'm going to do that today. But then to the left, you can see the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline. There's Mount Wilson. And then you can see that ridge line continuing on toward Highway 160. So there you have it, the view of this area. And then of course, we like to always identify the landmark bluff. That bluff always tells me where I am. So there you have it. Let's continue on up to the summit of this approach ridge and then take a left and see if we can head a couple more ridges over to that ridge in the foreground here and descend that ridge. Who knows? We'll give it a shot. Worst comes to worst, we come back here and head down the way we came, which is going to put us back just as the light is failing today, this first week in October. Well, these summits on the Wilson Ridge feel like the Matterhorn, each one of them. So here's this summit that we're on, and you see how it just drops off very sharply below us on this side. There's Red Rock Summit. Yeah, I can see why I didn't come up here last time. I saw the descent ridge and I decided just to head for that descent ridge. Okay, and Mount Wilson and Rainbow Mountain. Wilson on the right, Rainbow Mountain on the left. And then here's Bridge Mountain and North Peak. Bridge Mountain, the light colored mountain on the left, and North Peak on the right. And then guess what else we can see from this point? And wow, we are way up here. You can look down and see portions of Rocky Gap Road. You just can't get there. Not from here. Sheer cliff immediately ahead here. And there we have the area above Buffalo Wall. I call it Paradise Plateau. Beautiful Red Rock area. And then over this direction, White Rock Mountain. And behind it, Damsel Peak on the left, Turtlehead Peak on the right. And wow, we've got sort of a clear day here. Much better than last time. So here is the Las Vegas Strip. Yeah, there we go. You can see the stratosphere on the left, and then the strip to the right. There it is, Las Vegas Strip. And then Frenchman Mountain. The east side of Las Vegas, and behind Frenchman Mountain is Lake Mead area. In fact, you can actually see Lake Mead. There we go. And then back to Frenchman Mountain to the left is Sunrise Mountain, smaller. And then behind is the Muddy Mountain Range. Muddy Mountains. It's a wilderness area, a third the size of Rhode Island. Huge. There's the Calico Hills. In just a minute, I'll turn here. There we go, looking in the other direction. This is north on the Wilson Ridge. Shows you what we're dealing with here. Yeah, impossible cliffs. The rock is sort of loose. I don't know anyone who could climb these cliffs. The cliffs on the right or east side that are above Rocky Gap Road area, and a little more gradual, but I gotta say, not a whole lot on the left side. So what we're going to try to do is skirt the left side and get down to this next ridge. But wow, no promises. We may be turning back around because this is just steep, steep, steep. Okay, here we go. Well, this is where I turn around, head back down the ridge I came up. You can see this is the gradual side of the Wilson Ridge, more gradual than the other side, which is a sheer cliff. But yeah, a lot of loose rock and very, very steep drop off. So I am going to head back down. Now that next ridge that I wanted to get to, what I might do next time is head up that ridge and then see what the terrain looks like from the other direction. Sometimes that helps a lot. So yeah, here we are, turning around at this point, and this is pretty much the same ridge that we did on the Red Rock Summit Loop, heading down. So yep, we're doing the same thing. So I won't record any more today. One thing that I'm noticing here is Lovell Summit Road. That's Lovell Summit Road. And in the future, it might be a back door approach to Sexton Ridge, which is up here leading to Griffith Peak. Might be a quicker way to get to Sexton Ridge, which would leave time to actually summit Griffith Peak. I've never been able to make it to the summit of Griffith Peak on Sexton Ridge because I do Lovell Canyon Trail and the Griffith Summit Trail, and then I hit the ridge up here. But there's a lot of ascent and descent on that route. But it looks like potentially this Lovell Summit Road route could be more straightforward with less descent involved, just pure ascent. So that's a future adventure. So two future adventures we can see from here. One is this next ridge over, and then see if I can backtrack up to this high point that we're on. And the other adventure is Lovell Summit Road to Sexton Ridge. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and head down this razor's edge, loose rocky ridge here and get back down to Lovell Canyon Road. What a beautiful day. It's clearer than I've seen for a long time. Maybe that's because it's October. Tends to be a clearer month than the preceding months. Okay, here we are back at the beast after having ascended that high point. I don't know what the name of it is. I'll figure out something. Maybe I'll name it by the Forrest Road. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, today has confirmed my suspicion that the Wilson Ridge is a bit like climbing a mini Matterhorn every third of a mile. So 3 mini Matterhorns per mile. Very steep high points up on the Wilson Ridge. There you see it above. And you see some of the high points there. This is above Rocky Gap Road. So, yeah, I'll return and eventually traverse the entire Wilson Ridge. But I've got to say, it's going to take a long time. As I mentioned earlier, it takes pretty much half your time just to get up to the Wilson Ridge, let alone traverse any of it. So that's what I experienced today. I got up to the ridge on one of the mini Matterhorns and just wanted to turn around and head back. So we'll do more in the future. Okay, but it's been an awesome adventure today.